Hello everyone, I am Jasmine McAllister, or some of you know me as Jazzy, whichever is more comfortable for you. I publish an online magazine called Modern Hippie Mag. It is a site dedicated to promoting environmental sustainability as well as conscious living. Now, I am not a Twitter expert. I am not a Twitter expert. What I am is someone who a year ago didn't know what a blog was. I was using Facebook for my business, but I had no idea really the depth of social marketing until probably around February, when I started to look at what a blog was, so to speak, and how I could have a voice out in the blogosphere and perhaps have an audience of people. And then I learned about Twitter. How many in here know about Twitter? How many of you use Twitter? How many of you use Twitter every day? Okay. How many would like to know more about Twitter? Great. That works. But the 3 points that I really want to discuss are: what is Twitter? How does it work? And as a business person, why should you care? Because that really is the bottom line. How to monetize Twitter is also not something I'm going to be talking about, but I will give you some of the basics as to what Twitter is and how you can use it. In essence, Twitter is a real-time short messaging system. So we all know what a text is. We often text on our phones. Well, Jack Dorsey, who is actually the creator of Twitter, he created Twitter back in 2006. With that model in mind, how could he make it easier to keep track of his friends through an online platform that wasn't just texting? In Twitter, you have people that are following or able to access Twitter from every single country. Right now, there are over 50 billion people that are subscribed to social networking, Twitter being one of them. The biggest thing that Twitter does is it asks you a question: what's going on? And you're able to answer that question in 140 characters. And why 140 characters? Well, going back to that model of texting, when you text a message, if it goes on too long, you see it'll say it'll go to a next message. That's because you have 140 characters. So you're making it short, you're making it short and sweet and to the point. So if you have a message about something that's going on in your business, if you have a sale, or if you have something like that that you want to put out that is short and sweet, Twitter is a really good medium to do that. As a business owner, why should you care? Because you're able to create and discover new avenues of reaching people. Because Twitter was started as a social networking site for people to stay connected with their friends, and it's pretty much morphed into something that you can use for your business, it's really about relationships. So if your intent is to sell and make Twitter into a business, it's not going to work for you. Businesses, and this is a soapbox you're going to get on a lot, business should be about community and should be about relationships. Twitter is basically doing that. It's allowing you to be connected. Now, as a business owner, if you have a product or a service, don't you want to get feedback from your customers if what you're putting out is working or not? Well, imagine, rather than sending out a survey or sending out a mailer, you could have that information instantaneously through Twitter, because it's current, it's to the point, it's up to date, it stays, it feeds, and you have a way of searching. If you put some information out, you have a way of searching to ensure who's reading your message and also who's retweeting it, putting it out, putting that information out, because that's what a tweet is. I know people say, well, are you tweeting? Are you twittering? What's a twit? Well, when you put out a tweet, it's the information or the message that you're putting out. That's a tweet. Whether you want to call it tweeting or twittering or twatting or whatever you want to call it, the information that you put out on your Twitter status is your message, and that's your tweet. I like the twatting. To give you bullets on why Twitter can be important for your business. It helps businesses stay connected to their customers. You can use it quickly to share information with people that are interested in you, your company, or your service. You can gather real-time market intelligence and feedback. You can build relationships with your customers, your partners, or other people who care about your company. You can use Twitter to tell about an experience that you're having. This doesn't necessarily mean if your dog pooped in the house, your customers don't want to know that. However, if you're launching a product or a service and you want to get that initial information out there, and perhaps you have information that it did well in a test survey, you want to put that out there. Why not? It's exciting, and it's not something you have to wait to put in a newsletter that people may or may not read. We're getting away from mailers. We're getting away from print advertising. This would be a really fast way to put something out, and especially if you're making it personal. That's what people like to see on Twitter, is that personal connection that you can have with your customers as well as with other people in your business. Twitter can also help with business development. You can help build your prospects online. It can also be a way for you to augment customer service. One of the biggest companies right now they're using Twitter to enhance their marketing strategy is Dell Computers. Now, Dell isn't just putting out, we've got Dell computers for sale. We've got Dell computers for sale. We've got Dell computers for sale. No, they actually have an entire department dedicated to social online networking. And what they do is they may have one person who's dedicated to tweeting about sales. Another individual may tweet about customer service issues. Another person may be tweeting about something new that's coming out, a product launch. So they're able to take that information and put it out in bite-sized pieces so that they're reaching a larger audience. One of the cool things about Twitter is that it gives you a way to have a friendly public conversation with your customers. There are over 2 million bloggers, myself included, that are presently online, and that number is growing. 54% of these individuals tweet daily. Now, I'm assuming that's one tweet. Imagine if you put out 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 messages over a period of a day or a week. You're multiplying that 5 million by that many times you're getting that information out. Now, just like Facebook, when you go onto Twitter, you have an opportunity to build your profile. This is a small area that's on the right side of your screen where you put in your name or your company information, your website, and then your profile information, short and sweet, about your company or service that you offer. You want to do this because when people visit your Twitter page, this is what they're going to be looking at to learn about you. Social network media right now has over 50 billion users. If you were to take that same advertising platform that you can do on Twitter, it would take you 38 years if you did it by radio. It would take you 13 years if you did it by television. It would take you 4 years if you tried to just do it as an internet strategy, whereas you can accomplish that in a day on Twitter. Again, I'm not a Twitter expert. This is just research I did. I swear. Some of the following key terms are very important on Twitter, and once you get on it, for those of you that already have an account, it's pretty basic, but followers, these are people that are in your circle or your community. Now, the people that you follow on Twitter obviously would be people that you have an interest in or that you want to develop a relationship with. The people that follow you obviously have that same mindset. Now, there is a bit of a catch. You're only allowed to follow as many people that are following you. One of the reasons that is so is because, again, Twitter started as a basis for social networking, staying committed to relationships. So if you don't have that intention, Twitter will shut you down. Now, one of the reasons why John and I talked about this being important too for businesses is that in the time that I started using this avenue of keeping all of our information together, I saw an increase in the readership of my online magazine. I want to say almost triple. And it's because I started putting more emphasis and more focus on putting out personal tidbits about what was going on with the growth of Modern Hippie Mag on Twitter. So in just a short period of time, to give you a little bit of an idea, when we went professional, or when we launched as Modern Hippie Mag the way it is now, that was in August. By December, we had reached over 10,000 people. That was uniquely, meaning people that hadn't ever heard of our site before found us, and I can only attribute that to my increased presence on Twitter.